Dave, welcome back to the show. I appreciate you being here.
Well, thanks so much, Lacey. It's always great to chat about things of interest like money and assets
Yes.
and
Eh,
goodwill for that matter. Goodwill, I'll throw that in. But yeah, glad to be here.
You have a new book that's out, Strong to Save. And in that book, you talk about the cornerstone of your healthy physical bank. Can you explain why maintaining strength is so crucial, especially as you age? Because you're doing all this work, especially what I'm preaching, building your financial future. Your physical has to have something to do with that.
Oh boy, are you right? And Lacey, maybe it's surrounding ourselves with others that have paved the way. There are billionaires that believe in physical fitness. So that nice Venn diagram, the intersection, very strong intersection between fiscal portfolio and physical portfolio. Why don't we do what billionaires do? Billionaires like Oprah. Now, Oprah is celebrating with Mrs. Obama, celebrating what ladies do at midlife after that M word, menopause, happens. By the way, men can have menopause, so those are things to deal with. And by the way, strength helps, moving stuff helps with menopause and menopause. But so Oprah, she's very interested in activity, high intensity activity, and stamina to build her portfolio to last, to become a spokeswoman for her generation. Mark Zuckerberg, probably a millennial, is very active, and I think we heard that he was going to possibly go into the ring with Elon Musk for the battle of the billionaires, but he's a very fit individual. Richard Branson, extreme sports, very carefree but very thoughtful billionaire. So, what do billionaires do? They surround themselves with resources because they can. If someone needs a trainer, get a trainer. If someone needs a financial advisor, go find one. Don't go through life alone. But that goes for strength training as well as for physical planning. Mix up your workouts. Don't let it become, do what you love. Don't let your activities become mundane. Get immersed in them, mix it up. Maybe high intensity interval one day, maybe metabolic training the next day. So it's exciting to look forward to your resistance training. Use your work day. Isn't that interesting? Billionaires use their work day. They have walking meetings. They have standing desks. They have things that let them, as the subtitle of Strong to Save is, die harder and later. Jeff Bezos is another one, and there are more, but billionaires know the importance of moving stuff so that their mental clarity is better, so that their capacity to resist stress is better. And the cornerstone of that physical bank, supported by restorative sleep, stretching, stamina. Stamina keeps us alive, yeah, but strength adds to the quality of our life. And one of the themes of the book, Lacey, as you remember, is down aging. With habitual strength training, you can down age by 7 to 10 years. Science backed, sweat based. Isn't it nice to think about your portfolio? Hopefully, your fiscal portfolio is built to last. But with strength training, your physical portfolio will be built to last so that you're thriving and striving into your 90s. And it's a doable do. But it takes work. Just like watching your portfolio takes a little work. Adapting takes a little work. Whether you listen to the great counsel of Robin Williams in Good Will Hunting, or you listen to the counsel of Michael Brake, who I cited in Strong to Save. Surround yourself with good people. Always train like you're number two, and be a student of your endeavor. Learning how to do move stuff, heavy stuff, doesn't need to. You don't need to spend a lot of money. You don't need to invest in your strength training with anything more than your body weight or things around you. It could be a park bench for bench dips. It could be a 50-pound bag of dog food to do your resistance training with. There are very, very few excuses, Lacey, to not do regular strength training. It doesn't take long. Stamina takes long. It takes a long time to achieve results, months in their periodization. Strength, 45 minutes or 3 15 minutes. Isn't it interesting that your Road Warrior listeners can do a hotel workout of the day? 5 push ups, 5 burpees, 5 crunches times 20. Done in a few minutes. You're toned, your heart rate's up, and you're ready for your business day on travel. So there are very, very few excuses to not be strong to save, and that's kind of the lesson. It doesn't take a lot of time. If you think about someone your age, probably three 30-minute workouts a week, that's 90 minutes. 90 minutes divided by all the hours in the week, that's a small percentage of your time for a great return on your assets. And limiting the liabilities, offsetting senescence, offsetting sarcopenia. Isn't that a terrible word, sarcopenia? That's loss of muscle mass. At the age of 30, the average American adult starts to lose about 3% of skeletal muscle every decade. By 50, it's 5%, and by age 70, it's about 8%. So the average human has about 40% of his or her body as skeletal muscle. Half of that's water, so that becomes 20%. And you do the numbers, and you realize that you lose perhaps 8 to 10 pounds of skeletal muscle in your journey through life. And if you let that happen, that's a way to die earlier and easier. The subtitle, again, Die Harder and Later, sounds a lot more appealing to me than it does Die Early and Easy. And strength training, the cornerstone of that physical bank that you mentioned, is a extraordinarily powerful way to go about it.
In the book, you talk about, and I know I'm going to pronounce this wrong. I even went into Merriam-Webster and tried to listen to the pronunciation of this. But is it sthenic symbol? Sthenic symbol? Can you explain what that is, and maybe some practical tips on how people can get to that?
Sure. Sthenic doesn't mean you have to be Hercules or Arnold Schwarzenegger in prime time, or a great CrossFit lady. Sthenic means functional, working strength above your peers. It's a strange term, but I picked it to get for the curious listener or reader to think about sthenic. Okay. Yeah, I can be better than my peers. So that's the idea of sthenic, sthenic. It's a great word. It also relates, by the way, there's some roots of it that relate to financials. But as far as your physical body, it's fundamental, notable strength and power, and they keep on keeping on. So that's kind of a cool word, I thought, sthenic. It was new to me as well in my writing. But sthenic, sthenic, it's power, it's endurance, it's vital, it's being better than your peers, if that's important to you.
I could see that, what you're talking about. I've met people or seen people out, and they look really, really good for their age. Not in a done up kind of way, but just their physical being, their presence, their posture. I was noticing this guy at church the other day, and I was like, man, I have no idea how old he was. I'm not good at guessing age, but also too, he was in such good physical shape. I thought he could be 80, he could be 70, he might be 60, but I have no idea, because he, just the way he carried himself, his balance, everything. And I've seen women that way too. It's like and know that they're older than they look, but they have really great posture, they have great balance, they have quick movement, they have reflexes still. So I get what you're saying, it's not just about like you looking like a supermodel. It's about the way, being better than, to me, it's better than what your age probably other people think you should be.
That is a wonderful summary, Lacey, of sthenic strength. It's power, it's abundance. And when you have somebody guessing your age, not that I would get carded at a bar, believe me, but
Me either.
but if you think about, people say, "No way," and they, or that person in church with great posture, poise, just a demeanor. It's okay. Appearances and perceptions are wonderful, but the fundamental power and abundance that comes from a little bit of nature, but a lot of nurturing, right? The best way to be strong is to have strong parents, but I can't go back and find you parents. So the second best way is to work at it regularly. And I'll bet a nickel that those people you're referring to probably do something good for themselves. Sweat and moving stuff so that they don't suffer sarcopenia, another big word, loss of skeletal muscle. If they're sitting tall, obviously they have skeletal muscle to support their skeleton, and it helps with appearance. It's wonderful to have people guess your age and have them say no way. So yeah, sthenic strength, posture, breathing, the way they carry themselves, backed by skeletal muscle and not losing it.
Yes, I did think about this guy at church. I was like, if we all have to run out of here, like he's getting out of here ahead of a lot of people. Like he looked like he was still in good shape, like he could run. When you were on the show last time, you said something that has stuck with me, and I still tell people this piece of advice that you gave, and I'll put a link in the show notes to our last conversation. But being able to get up off the floor with no hands. As you get older. And I never really thought about that, but that's actually something I do almost every day now. I do other exercises and things like that, but I want to be able to always get up off the floor, whether that's a fall or like one day if I ever have grandchildren, like I want to be able to be on the floor with them, be able to get up. But also too, I just want that for myself, to get my own body off of the floor. And so I practice that. But a lot of this is what you're saying, like it's just not just about the floor. Like if you want to be able to do these things when you're older, you should be doing them now. It's like if you want to be able to walk 2 miles, well, you should, when you're older, you should be going for a 2-mile walk I would think at least once a week.
Oh gosh, yeah, because stamina does help us stay alive, right? Heart, cardiorespiratory system, but guess what supports the breathing? Muscles. And that just doesn't happen automatically. They have to be exercised. They have to be challenged. I call it the SAID principle, SAID, specific adaptations to imposed demands. I know there are a lot of acronyms I use in Strong to Save because there are these big phrases. But we have to challenge our bodies or we get into a senescent phase. Senescence is your body starts to slowly shut down. It needs a tune-up. And when we have let's call somebody like me, Medicare age, who avoids tune-ups, the car isn't going to run as well. Our body's not going to run as well without tune-ups. Sitting to rise that you mentioned, Lacey, extraordinary and important. It uses strength. It uses stability. It requires you to stretch your muscles and have mind-body alignment to not go drunken sailor. So sit to rise test is one of those marks for longevity. Another one that I encourage people to do is kind of anchor one of your legs as a pillar, unweight your other leg, stand on one leg with your eyes closed, have somebody time you. Very valid predictor of longevity, because if you can behave without eyesight, temporarily going without eyesight, maintain your spatial awareness and balance, you're probably going to be kid-like. We were born rich, but we lose these things. These are takeaways on our balance sheet. We are born as a $10 million person. That was a study from COVID, that the average American, tangible and intangible assets, including goodwill, is a $10 million body. But we start to let things take away. We start to lose our balance. We start to lose our ability to get up from the ground. When you think about it, you get to dying harder and later. It's things like your grip strength, your ability to stand on one leg, your lung capacity, or sit to rise. So yeah, if some of your listeners can take the time to get down on the floor and get up, it's a valid, it's credible. And oh, by the way, if it's hard to do it anyway. Good things are worth chasing, right? So sit to rise is just one of those markers. None of those tests, grip strength, people with strong grips did not die from COVID. We may have discussed that our last meeting. But they may have gotten COVID, but they didn't go to the ICU or die if they had composition measured by their grip strength. I would encourage all of your listeners to buy a handheld dynamometer to check your grip strength. And if you're not above average or great grip strength, I say get there. It can be done in weeks, and it's a mark of longevity. So you think about your portfolio getting longer as you down age, that's pretty exciting. You think about getting up off the floor to play with grandkids someday for your listeners. That's exciting. Living longer and living better, to me, that's exciting. My goal is to prove the Social Security Administration wrong. It said I'm going to be dead at 85. Might be right. Statistics, numbers count, but it's my goal to prove that the Social Security Administration is wrong. I'm going to be thriving and striving past the time they say I'm dead. So getting up from the ground is part of that, believe it or not. That's a strength test.
Yes. No, and when you mention grip strength, I would consider that that would be important if you're falling, because you're going
Oh,
to reach for something, and if you don't have good grip strength to catch your body weight, you're going to fall versus you could potentially catch yourself if you did lose your balance or something. I recently had somebody I know, they were carrying a small box into a building, and there was workmen that had left tools out, and so no fault to them, they tripped. There was no way they could see that this like teeny tool or whatever. But if you're able to catch yourself or have reflexes to respond to that situation, I think that would be important.
very, very much so. And not only the muscle, the neuromuscular system. It's a fact that kids and older adults trip about the same, but falling is far different, isn't it? Kiddos don't fall rarely. I mean, there are exceptions. Older folks lose their fancy term proprioception. They lose their spatial awareness, and if their muscle strength and responsiveness is lessened, they may face plant. And if they face plant and don't have muscle, what's likely to get broken? Joints. But if you
Uh,
have muscles, you could very well bruise a muscle and hurt like the dickens for a while, but it's the muscle that shields the joint, possibly from breakage. Also, weight training is wonderful, particularly, unfortunately, for the ladies. They're more prone to osteopenia and bone weakness because they don't uh, apply bone-bearing exercise to their joints. And if the bones get weak, more likely to break if the fall happens. So less muscle, weaker bones from not doing weight-bearing exercises. Walking is okay, but moving heavy stuff is even better. Put on wrist weights or put on a backpack to walk around with to help with the weight-bearing part, so that ladies in particular maintain their bone density. So if there was a fall, people my age, 1 out of every 3 baby boomers falls every year, and that's a statistic. I want to say my number is that, not a one. So strength is part of that. Proprioception, spatial awareness is part of that, and having muscle mass can very well avoid a broken hip or a broken wrist, because the way you're able to, if you have to fall well, and use muscle to cushion the impact, and get back up again. Like you said, if you have to call 911, how many folks I work with as a personal trainer talk about elders who get up in the middle of the night, fall, and they can't get to the phone. And that's tragic. It could be life-ending if they can't get their wits about them and get to move to for safety, for 911, or calling their family members or whatever. Very, very, very important, Lacey. So all goes back to sit to rise, standing on one leg, and getting comfortable doing things that are uncomfortable, like standing on one leg with your eyes closed. Simple yet hard. If folks spend a few minutes each day doing those things, probably not going to fall, probably live longer, live better. Simple yet hard.
yes. You mentioned earlier down aging, and you talked about strength. Are there some other factors that go into that contribute to down aging?
Yeah, and attitude is part of that. We have these amazing bodies of ours with hundreds and hundreds of hormones floating around. We have fight or flight hormones. The adrenal glands can pump out cortisol when your listeners are stressed. Now, cortisol is great if there's a mad dog chasing you. So hopefully you can scoot and get away from the mad dog, fight or flight. But if you let the hormone that we talk about the most is called cortisol. And if we let cortisol hang around and become chronic, your happy hormones are depressed. If we can do things like strength training, breathing, celebrating, singing, working your vagus nerve, your happy hormones will rise and depress cortisol. So strength training is a very wonderful way to address cortisol, but so is mindful breathing. So is a walk where you're grounded with nature, getting vitamin D, playing with your grandkids. It would be hard to if I was in solitary confinement, I'd have a lot of cortisol. I'd have to work. I'd do a lot of body weight exercises for sure. But you do the things, attitude and mind-body alignment. That's the MBA for the physical portfolio, where an MBA can help you with your physical portfolio. But yeah, in addition to strength, attitude, stamina, stretching your muscles and your fascia and your connective tissue. Stretching is one of those 7S's that you and I spoke about some years ago, that can support strength. So stretching is kind of like the flexible part of your portfolio, where strength is the cornerstone, the bedrock is stamina, but guess what's on top? The capstone of your physical bank, restorative sleep. And how many folks of your listeners have anxiety from, hey, America is no longer one of the top 20 countries for happiness in the world. If you have a listener who's 50, that's the absolute bottom, the unhappiness curve of life. Someone at 50 has a lot of stressors, cortisol and other stressors that are keeping them from celebrating life. And strength, stability, stamina, stretching, restorative sleep, and avoiding stress and cortisol are all important, but the cornerstone certainly is. Sleep is important as the capstone, stamina is important as the foundation, flexible insurance, stretching is important. They're all important, and it's kind of a hybrid, kind of like a financial portfolio, isn't it? You have balanced assets. So you don't, you can see a muscle-bound person that doesn't have stamina and is very tight could fall, because it doesn't have the that person doesn't have the flexibility to avoid danger. You could have a very fit person who has sleep disorder, and that's not good. Your mind and your body need sleep. Many positive of those hundreds and hundreds of hormonal flows, many positive hormones need restorative sleep. One of them being serotonin. It's manufactured in your gut, and if you don't sleep, one of the happy hormones isn't generated. Another way to avoid stress is hug a lot, even if it's hug yourself, you know. Oxytocin is a lot better than oxycodone, isn't it? We have an opioid epidemic, but if people hug more and work out more, happy hormones go up, cortisol goes down unless the mad dog is chasing you, and hopefully you'll die harder and later.
I'm happy to hear that about hugging because I'm definitely a hugger. My editor listening right now is probably like, okay, that's why Lacey's happy. I do hug a lot.
It is proven. Now, it's interesting that women and men, there's some time element of that, a temporal aspect of that, where guys have to hug a little longer to get the oxytocin flowing, yet it's still important, you know. It takes a lot less muscles to smile than it does to frown, you know, just laughing in the face of death, or, you know, hey, I mentioned Goodwill before, that great movie Good Will Hunting that Matt Damon wrote as a Harvard student. His therapist is Robin Williams. Isn't that funny? But Robin offered two lines. If I can quote one, it's kind of long. But Robin told Will, Matt Damon, you'll have bad times, but they wake you up to the good stuff you probably weren't paying attention to. So when you hug, you're not thinking about the bad times. You're generating happy thoughts, you know, cognitive happy thoughts. So Robin Williams, I think, was spot on. Good Will Hunting. Yeah, there's many ways to avoid the anxieties of life. Isn't it interesting that health-related concerns are either the number one or number two cause of anxiety and stress for any generation? Gen Z, Gen Y, Gen X, baby boomers, and those few greatest generation we have. Health concerns are either number one or number two. Often money is the other one. But regardless of age, health is a big deal, and yet we have folks that are not investing in things like getting up from the ground, Lacey, that you mentioned. We have folks that aren't hugging enough. We're all isolated, right? We're not in the workplace around the water fountain to give a fist bump or a high five. Physical contact is important, and it's a great way to reduce stress and think about your portfolio growing. It really is.
I always point that out about my grandmother, who we're very blessed. She's 97, sharp as a whip, but she's practiced a lot of the things you've mentioned lifelong. Like, I always remember she was always walking, always going to water aerobics. She's just always going to hang out with friends, things like that. But I try to point out to my kids about my grandmother, also their grandparents, that they don't get hugged as much as we do. I'm always hugging my boys, probably to their annoyance. But to
But
point out,
someday
like,
they'll appreciate it. Yeah.
yes, yeah, but to say, like, hey, grandma doesn't get hugged all the time. And so that's why it's so important for us to, hug her when we see her. One, because we don't know how long she'll be with us. But I think those are important. And I often meet people that I think are having a really hard time, or that are maybe lashing out, but I always think they probably just need to be loved on. Like, there's something going on where they just, so I'm glad you said that, because I
Yeah.
usually think like they just need to be hugged.
Oh, and if if there's metaphors, you could whack down cortisol, and what pops up in whack-a-mole at the arcades? The happy hormones pop up. Oxytocin, which is generated by hugging, and golly, if we could all just hug more and have less isolation. I know we've been through a terrible pandemic, and hopefully we've learned some lessons that physical contact is important. And all the platitudes. If you're handed a lemon, make lemonade. For your wonderful mom, motion is lotion. Or Queen Elizabeth, if you remember in the manuscript you reviewed, Queen Elizabeth, 96 and a half years old, she interviews her new prime minister, and then she's gone. She didn't have long, drawn out polypharmacy, palliative care. She had a long health span, and it almost equaled her lifespan, minus 1 day. She had a vital life, and then she was gone. Isn't that a dream? Hopefully that'll be your mom. But Queen Elizabeth II said, when you stop, you drop. And, that's royalty speaking. Now, also, something royal is a deadweight lift, right? That's called the royal lift because it's a lot of poundage, and it's wonderful for you, because you use so many muscles to lift something up from the ground. So, Queen Elizabeth, royal, long health span, long lifespan, and the deadweight lift is called the royal lift for both men and women because it does wonderful things for you. So, weaving back to health span, lifespan, and a weight-bearing exercise called the deadweight lift or deadlift. Um,
How does nutrition play a role in the down aging?
oh goodness, anti-inflammatory is part of it. And hey, what does that mean? It means less fatty red meat, less processed food, and a lot more if people can afford it. Now, this may affect and may be a factor in some folks' financial portfolios. It does cost a little more for things that are truly organic. But getting things from farmers that you trust or ranchers that you trust, grass-fed. I'm an omnivore, so I will eat red meat, but I like grass-fed and grass-finished red meat, which is lower in saturated fat and wonderful protein, wonderful B12. So I'm very proud to be an omnivore, but I don't want to be a foolish omnivore. I don't want to eat processed foods. Some of your older listeners may remember the name Jack LaLanne. Jack was a very big advocate for fit women, by the way, but Jack LaLanne was an early television promoter of fitness and did some amazing things at older ages. Jack LaLanne said, one of his amazing quotes was, "If man made it, don't eat it." So heavily processed foods have zombie fats. They have some things that our forebears did not eat, and they were better for it. Things in a box, things on a shelf. If you can, if you can do scratch recipes with things from nature, and a lot of plant-based foods, those are anti-inflammatory. They honor your gut. Some of those amazing hormones we just mentioned are manufactured in your gut. If your gut is out of balance and inflammatory, you're not supporting your strength moves. You're not supporting your livelihood, your abundance. Again, we were born rich, but the American diet is killing people. So nutrition is extraordinarily important, and that was sustenance in my bank, my physical bank with those 7 S's. Clean, anti-inflammatory eating is extraordinarily important. We need the nutrients to fuel our muscles. With resistance training, we want to get a little bit sore and we want to sweat. When we do, we cause micro tears in our muscles to avoid sarcopenia. But how do we restore, rebuild, and lengthen and strengthen our muscles? Repetitive actions, but we need to restore with the right macronutrients, the right micronutrients, plenty of water. About half of our muscles are water. So if you're dehydrated, you're weak. I mean, it's just the way it is. So great question. Nutrition, clean, anti-inflammatory eating is so critical to thriving and striving, to dying harder and dying later. Absolutely. And it's interesting, though, not to make it too hard in your portfolio management. I've heard very well-known and respected scientists say, get it right most of the time. And in fact, some say 80-20, 1 day a week, go ahead. Go ahead and have an extra piece of cake, or maybe have a potato chip that's processed, and enjoy it, but then get back on the wellness wagon and have back anti-inflammatory eating. Our bodies actually respond to that stimulus of unhealthy processed foods and want you to get back to homeostasis. So it's okay to get it right most of the time. In fact, experts say if you were draconian, if you were monk-like in eating anti-inflammatory all the time, that may not be totally good for you. It's okay to stray a little bit, celebrate it, then get back to clean anti-inflammatory nutrition to work on your physical banking. Yeah.
People sometimes struggle with consistency when it comes to their fitness. What is some motivational advice you have for people to make that a priority?
Yeah, I say down aging, and again, this is not a lecture, but I say, is it worth it that person to prioritize? Billionaires prioritize activities at the workplace. Again, a walking meeting or a standing desk. Billionaires realize the importance of the mind and body working together. Now, I went through middle age. I think I survived, but I had many days when I said, God, I just need to rest today. And sometimes it's good to rest. But if one day becomes 3 days, 3 days becomes 3 weeks, and then you wonder why the scale is tipping in the wrong direction, and you're not pleased with your appearance and you're not pleased with your performance, it means that you didn't stick to your absolute focus on the end game of gaining 7 to 10 years by clean eating, moving heavy stuff, and remembering, like your mother, motion is lotion. It's the conviction that doing the work is worth 7 to 10 extra years, vital years, not in a sick bed. These are years moving around, like your 97-year-old mother who's messing around with grandkids on the ground. That's what I think people should remember. There, again, as Robin Williams shared, they're bad times. We use the bad times to remember that there's a future good time if you do the work. Tom Hanks said, do the work. He works very hard as a diabetic, as somebody my age, but he makes more movies than I do, and he works very hard, but I know he stays fit. Diabetics have to. There's no alternative. If you remember that 4-letter acronym in Strong to Save, TINA, there is no alternative. So if there are mornings when people say, well, I'm going to turn off the alarm, just turn over and sleep, I say, to me, there's no alternative to 7 to 10 extra years of quality living. TINA. So short answer, TINA. There's no alternative unless you want to die early and easy, do the work. So.
Okay, I want to ask you a couple of quick random questions I ask everybody. First off, what is one resource or tool that you use that makes your life easier?
Well, maybe not easier, but feedback is important. I grew up as a systems engineer before personal training and writing and so on. In one of the chapters of Strong the Same is called X Factors. So one of the things that's easy for me is this ring. It's an appliance, It can't do the work for me. It can't make me strong. It can't make me sleep well. But this ring, believe it or not, Lacey, told me something was wrong before I got shingles.
Oh, you're
It
pointing
said,
to a ring on your finger for people
yeah,
that
there
are
it is.
listening.
Yeah, sorry if you can't, but there on my ring finger is an Aura. Now, I'm not a salesperson for Aura, Oura, and there's some watches that can do most of what an Aura ring does. But a lot of smart watches get taken off at night because people don't like to sleep with watches or they recharge. But this has about a 5-day battery, Lacey. Its heart rate variability, temperature, and trending told me something was wrong with me before I had shingles. This ring told me I had something wrong with me before COVID hit me in Ireland. We were on vacation. Wonderful place to have COVID, by the way.
It's so funny you say that because I have a friend that got it in Ireland too.
They are a much different approach. That there's no cloistering or they're just it's a virus. Get over it. If you die, you die. But the Irish are great with sadness and song and suds. But anyway, this told me that my body vitals, something was going on, and lo and behold, yeah, there was. I had COVID. So this ring or other fitness appliances are X factors. Don't have to be expensive, and you can get by without them. But I like the feedback. It tells me if something is coming. If a train wreck is coming called COVID or shingles, it's kind of nice to know about it. So sometimes fitness appliances are great. This works for me, this Aura ring. Others may have other favorites. They can't do the work for you. Again, you can get strong with a towel and a clean water bottle. But sometimes an appliance like a fitness appliance like an Aura ring helps me. So,
what's your favorite book right now, or your favorite book of all time?
Well, the favorite book right now is Chris Berglund's The Athlete's Way, and if for your visual listeners and lookers, there's Chris Berglund's book, The Athlete's Way. But look at the subtitle. The Biology of Bliss. Sweat and the Biology of Bliss. Sweat and soreness it comes with the territory. It comes with doing the work of resistance training. So Chris Berglund's book, this guy was an ultra athlete, and I wouldn't do what he does because it causes too much inflammation. But he had goals. He didn't give up on his goals. So that's my favorite book now. My favorite book of all time.
Oh, Strong to Save. Okay.
No, it's not. No. The favorite book of all time, probably The Right Stuff by Tom Wolfe. Folks doing unheralded things, facing the unknown, being fit. Probably The Right Stuff by Tom Wolfe is my Miss Goff, my sophomore English teacher, told me I had to read The Right Stuff, and I'm glad I did, Tom Wolfe's. But for now, probably The Athlete's Way. Close second, Breath by James Nestor. The importance of breathing, that it supports your resistance training, how you breathe when you train, how you breathe when you sleep. There's a new trend that people tape their mouths shut so they enforce nasal breathing. It's so important for a lot of reasons. So that's another great book. It was a New York Times bestseller, Breath by James Nestor.
Okay, wonderful. I'll put links to all of those in the show notes for everybody. Now it is time for my favorite part of the podcast, which is game time. And today, in honor of your visit, we're going to be playing rowing trivia because I know that you like rowing.
I have a race this weekend, so yeah, let's see how I do.
Okay. Number one. Oh, wait, if you get 3 out of the 5 correct, you get bragging rights that you won game time on the MILMO show. So here we go.
All right.
Number one, what is the minimum number of rows required in a boat for it to be considered a rowing shell? I don't know if this makes any sense to you. It doesn't make to me. But this is, by the way, Chat GPT helped me with these questions. So we'll see how accurate they are.
Using technology. Can't do the work for you. So a single scull has 1 rower, so the answer is 1. You only need 1 person to have a rowing shell.
No, it says what is the member? No, it says the number is 4. The minimum number of rowers required in a boat for it to be considered a rowing shell.
Interesting. Okay, so they define the difference between a single skull, 1 person, and a 4-person shell. So, okay, I missed it, but I understand the rationale. So,
okay, number 2, and I'll give you multiple choice answers so you can pick from. Number 2, which of these is not a type of rowing boat? Is it A, single skull, B, coxless pair, or C, triple quad, which
Triple
is
quad.
not a rowing boat? I'm sorry?
Triple quad.
Okay, that is correct. Number three, what is the primary muscle group used in the rowing stroke? Is it A, your quadriceps, B, hamstrings, or C, latimus dorsi?
Dorsey, the big broad muscles, big back muscles. You know, it's a whole body sport, so this is almost a trick question, Lacey, because it uses 90% of the muscles in your body. But it is a pushing sport, so the best answer is quads, the wonderful quadriceps, the longest muscles in your body, the quads.
Oh, wow. Well, you got the question right according to ChatGPT. So. Number,
Yay, AI.
yeah. Number four, at the Olympics, what is the longest current rowing event? Is it four? Go ahead.
Sorry, 2,000 meters.
That is correct. Okay, number
By
five.
the way, trivia, in LA 2028, it's shortened to 1,500 meters, and there are a lot of people like me that said, no! Because the course that we used in 1932 has been shortened. They're using the same one, and it's only 1,500 meters. But for now, until 2028, it's 2,000 meters. Paris this summer, the Olympiad, 2,000 meters.
Okay,
Grueling,
number five. I'm sorry?
grueling
Oh,
event.
yes.
Grueling
Yes.
event.
Number five, the rowing stroke is comprised of four segments. Is it A, catch, drive, finish, recovery, or B, start, pull, release, return, or C, grip, stroke, feather, glide? I can reread those if you.
No, that's but for your listeners, catch, drive, finish, recover, and the ratio of those. You want to spend the more powerful and strong and the more stamina you have, you spend less time on the drive and more time on the recovery. So there's a ratio involved. If you watch a wonderful Olympic crew event, it's poetry in motion. No one's rewarded for their rugged individualism in a cruise shell, but it's catch, drive, finish, recovery, and it's how those 8 oarsmen in the coxswain work together. Catch, drive, finish, recovery, A.
Oh, okay. Wonderful. Well, you definitely have bragging rights that you won game time. I appreciate you playing and for being on the show again. Dave, can you tell everybody listening where they can learn more about you and what you're up to?
Well, what am I up to? Well Past 40 is the website and my author's, author's landing page for the new book, Strong to Save. Dave at Well Past 40 or Dave at Strong to Save. I'm sorry, Dave at wellpast40.com or Dave at strongtosave.com, all run together, no hyphens or whatever, for email. Love to chat with people. And for your military listeners, if they want to send me an email, I want to thank them for their service, or Gold Star people or family members of the folks that serve our nation, send me an email and I'll be glad to send you a copy of Strong to Save with my thanks for all that they do.
Well, I appreciate that kindness to our listeners. I will be sure to put links to all of that in the show notes. Thank you again, Dave. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Lacey. Wonderful to catch up.